So nobody's been asking me if I've died yet or not, which I can't tell if that's a good thing. Like, I've tamed you guys enough to the point where you're smart enough to not ask that question, or there's few enough of you that you just don't care. I'm trying to decide which one it is. Anyways, I've been a little bit lax in my random unboxing videos and updates. Sorry, and I'm kind of in, like, emotionally in the last few days, I've been in kind of a bad spot. So I need a bit of a pick-me-up, and there's like a bunch of stuff over there that needs to be addressed. So, first and foremost, rest in peace, Toys R Us. You will be missed. I did make a video, but I didn't finish the video, so it's on the way. It's some of it, and I'm probably going to be repeating some of the stuff I already shot for it, but haven't finished editing or whatever. It's so strange. I was in the Toys R Us, and I actually somehow managed to get this camera into the Linwood, Washington Toys R Us on my last trip there, and it was strange because I heard this little kid, couldn't have been 2 or 3 years old, scream his little head off, and it occurred to me that in the deepest veins of that kid's memory, in the distant future, they will have this image of being surrounded by all this colorful toys and blankies and whatnot, and they'll never experience that ever again. I mean, experiences come and go, whatever, and that's life, but like, that kid was surrounded by an entire franchise dedicated to nothing but children's toys. Nothing but. A little bit of collectors sprinkled in here and there, a little bit of video gaming sprinkled in the one distant corner, whatever. But still, that kid will grow up in a world that doesn't have a dedicated... The era of the toy store is gone. Walmart, Target, Fred Meyer's. Why did I keep that on camera? Was it Macy's, which is not anywhere near me? Those are department stores. Sears. Gosh, how could I forget Sears? Because Sears isn't a big thing anymore. Sears, JCPenney's, is it Marshall's or Michelle's? I'm not a fabric person nor a clothing person, so like, I don't care. Usually toy section is going to be a toy section off in the corner, and that's all that you're going to get for toys. If you want to look at a toy in person, that's where you have to go. You have to go into the back corner. Once you get past the automotive, once you get past the clothing, once you get past the pick your poison, the toy aisle will always be in the back, and that's not even including the Safeways and the Bartell Drugs and the Albertsons. Does Albertsons even exist anymore? And the national grocery chains that have just one little section of toys, And so it's very bizarre. Mostly because, I very much it's hard to say. I was a Toys R Us kid. And I never really grew up from it either, because, hello. But it's so strange to be in a world that doesn't have Toys R Us anymore. My last trip to Toys R Us was late March 2018, which was shortly after the notice. And I took this camera with me, and not this tripod. I actually took the monopod with me. And I walked through, took about a half hour one look through. That was the one that I went to the most often after I moved to this location, was the Linwood Toys R Us. This is supposed to be a quick recap, not the whole thing. And it was the last one. It's the one I've been going to for 26 years. I got my original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1 Deluxe Megazord from there. I got how many Transformers and Bionicle and not Star Wars. I've got Star Wars themed Legos, but not Lego or not Star Wars by itself. So Transformers, and I think I already said that one, and Bionicle, and so like I've been going there for 26 years. I've been going there since 1993. 26 years? Yeah, that sounds about right. 25, 26, thereabouts, and just poof, gone. Never to be seen again. To be turned into a, oh, what's it going to turn into? I don't know. It's going to be an Office Depot, or it's going to be a furniture store, or it's going to be a discount surplus. It's going to be, I don't know what they're going to do into it. They might even demolish the building and turn it into something else. They might even turn it into more parking space, elevated parking or something. I don't know. Just last week, on Monday, when I picked this up, I swung by the Everett Toys R Us, and doors were closed. It said closed, sold out, and I'm like, I drove by and I'm like, thank you. So that was weird to see. I didn't have time to park and look in the window, but I'm like, wow, this is a world that no longer has Toys R Us. Wow. It's, so, yeah, that little memorial thing here. And like I said, there is going to be a dedicated video to this. The second thing, I'm not going to go on too much about this one. It's going to be a long video, I can tell. Another long video. The second thing, I have seen Star Wars The Last Jedi. Not to spoil it, because just in case, like myself, it takes you a while to see movies that are new. I can't say I'm disconnected. Like, I was not among the people who said that J.J. Abrams ruined Star Wars in the same way that he ruined Star Trek. Star Trek already had problems. It's just that J.J. Abrams just kind of magnified the problems that it already had. So he didn't single-handedly destroy Star Trek, but he didn't really help Star Trek in any way. Oh, he brought on a new fan base. He brought Star Trek to a new generation. You know, they did that back in the 80s, and it was a resounding success. And they didn't have to resort to red matter or cadets becoming captains inside of 3 days, or red matter or blue-collar workers going absolutely apeshit and gaining control of a space station that's very much obviously a space station, but they're calling it a spaceship that's been transformed into Borg technology, but you wouldn't know that because it didn't happen on screen, and whatever doesn't happen on screen isn't canon. Lens flares and camera shake and action for action's sake, and it's not a lightsaber, but we're going to treat it like a lightsaber, even though it doesn't glow like a lightsaber and it doesn't sound like a lightsaber. We're going to have Khan. You know, like and then I watched Star Trek Beyond. It would have been about 6-7 months ago at this point. I saw that, and I'm like, all right, okay. A different director took something that I wasn't really thrilled with, and it's not that he really addressed it. He just said, forget it. We're just going to move on. This is what we have to work with. This is what we're going with. Okay, all right, fine. You brought up some interesting things, although you didn't entirely address them. Like, you brought them up, but you didn't solve the problem. So, yeah. And so I kind of feel the same way about The Last Jedi. Like, it was a different director, and like I didn't hate Force Awakens. I kind of thought it was a good movie, although, to be fair, I've kind of disconnected from Star Wars ever since the prequels came out. Like, that is an issue. You can't just say, oh, the prequels were a thing. Don't worry about it. Don't think about it. Or just stick with the good stuff. Well, it's still an issue. It's still Star Wars. It's still canon. You still have to stick with it. So, yeah, I kind of lost my... So, when I go into Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, you know, I am disconnected. I do still have issues with the franchise. So I was perhaps not as shocked or embedded in the franchise as I would have been if I'd seen it maybe 10 years ago when the prequels hadn't happened yet. 10 years ago? 10 years ago. Holy shit. No! God, it's been almost 20 years since the prequels came out. What the hell? Because Episode 1 came out in 99. And here it is 2018. Episode 1 is 20 years old. God damn, where's the time go? So anyways, Last Jedi, there were some things that clearly the director didn't like about the first movie, and he just like, we're going to get rid of this. We're going to ignore this. We're going to get rid of this as quickly as we possibly can in as reasonable a way as we possibly can, but we're just going to get rid of the bullshit that happened in the previous movie and not even bring up why we did this. And then we'll have the next director, and then we'll have the next person pick it up. Oh wait, the next director is coming up is J.J. Abrams again, who was confirmed to be directing Episode 9. So it's weird the way this is. The Last Jedi, like I don't hate the movie because I wasn't as invested in Star Wars, but I didn't hate The Force Awakens. At least not the way I hated the Star Trek reboots. Soft reboot, alternate universe, or alternate timeline, altered timeline. Like, I hate what Abrams did to Star Trek, but I don't hate what he did to Star Wars. There are plenty of people who would disagree with me on both points, but whatever, that's my opinion. Shut up. So I go into The Last Jedi, and it's just... I suppose that if I hesitate, that makes it a not good movie. But there have been movies that I've been kind of, okay, whatever, that I didn't hate, and did spectacularly in theaters, and did, amazingly well, and have had video game sequel after video game sequel after franchise and stuff like that. The Transformers the movie, for example, in 1984. I watched that movie as an adult, and I kind of agreed with all the critics at the time. What the hell is this disaster? What is this toy advertisement thing? It's like, what is unicorn? Why is unicorn a thing? So, my knees. I did a lot of walking yesterday. So, Last Jedi, I don't hate it yet, but I don't necessarily like it, or I don't necessarily love it. No, I don't love it. There's like I said, there's questionable things. So I don't know. On the other hand, I thoroughly enjoyed watching Pacific Rim Uprising a week ago today. You don't watch Pacific Rim, the first one. You don't watch Pacific Rim 1 for the character development or the tremendous plot or the acting or the... I don't know, the acting wasn't too bad. Given what they were dealing with, the acting was not bad. There's nobody really sticks out like a sore thumb. So, and this is Guillermo del Toro we're talking about. This guy's done Academy Award winning work, so you can't, but anyways, you go into Pacific Rim, you kind of know what it's about. You don't, there's no big surprises really. There might be plot twists, but there's no huge surprises like no one's expecting, Darth Vader to be Luke's father. I'm sorry, did I spoil that for anybody? So, like, I came out of Pacific Rim 1 and I was very happy. I came out of the theater and like, yeah, this is great. I was grinning like a fucking idiot the whole way I was driving home. 45 minutes took me to get home. I was so happy with that movie. I was so happy. And then, I did my audio commentary, God, like 4 or 5 years ago. 5 years ago. I need to do more of those. I was planning to do more audio commentaries for movies. I'm not quite sure what went wrong there. But anyways, you see Pacific Rim 1, and it's so satisfying. It's so satisfying. And, we're not expecting huge dramatics or, religious iconography or father-son issues or the meaning of life stuff out of our giant robot genre shows and movies. We're not expecting that. We want giant robots versus giant monsters. Bam. Done. That's all we wanted. You don't have to make it complicated, and Pacific Rim pulled it off marvelously. It did. It told you what it was about in the trailers. You go into it with no surprises, and you're very satisfied. The critics didn't understand it, and apparently the world works around critics, and it didn't do very well domestically because clearly there are not enough nerds in America as it is right now. So it took 3 years for Legendary Pictures, now owned by China, by the way, I'd like to point out. Legendary Pictures, and was it Universal? Yeah, Universal. It took 2-3 years for them to decide, well, we made a lot of money in China, that's where our market is. So let's kind of, and this is kind of a mini commentary on Pacific Rim Uprising. So basically, Pacific Rim Uprising fixes the problems that existed in the first movie. You hated the fact that all battles take place at nighttime in the first movie? Pacific Rim Uprising takes care of that problem. You hated the fact that all the fights in Pacific Rim 1 took place in the downpour? Pacific Rim Uprising took care of that problem. You hated the fact that Gypsy Danger was front and center the whole time, and it was just that one? Taken care of. You hated the fact that none of it took place in Japan? Taken care of. You hated the fact that there weren't more than one kaiju on screen at a time? No, wait, they already did that. So there were some things like, when you go to watch a Transformers movie, be it the '86 animated movie or the Bayformers CG animated movies, it's a giant toy commercial. Because, hello, it's based off of, come on, I need a convenient Transformer. Here we go. It's based off of toys, okay? This is the Japanese version, by the way. It's based off of toys. Oh, the thing behaves like a giant toy commercial. It is a giant toy commercial. Hello? Oh, it's a promotion for people to sign up with the U.S. military. The U.S. military got its ass handed to it. Let's be honest. Blackout did more damage to the U.S. military than they could ever have imagined in the following 4 movies. I'm still trying to figure out how the hell Bayformers survived Revenge of the Fallen. I really am. Just like that just... How? It was actually worse than the first one, yet it made more money than the first one. There's a lot of stupid happening in America, and it started all the way back in 2009. Just saying. So, but Pacific Rim did not come across as a giant toy commercial or a giant promotion to sign up with the military. That's not what it was aiming for. That's not what it was marketed as. That's not the feeling that you walk away from every time you see it. That's not what Pacific Rim is about. It's just giant monsters versus giant robots. Bam, done. We want to see it on the big screen. We want to see it in glorious high definition with surround sound and the bass and, you know, possibly in 3D. God, I wish I'd seen Pacific Rim in 3D. And that's all we wanted, and that's all we got. And it was glorious as a result. So, going into Pacific Rim Uprising, again, no spoiler alerts, not really, you're not going to be disappointed. You go into it already knowing the score, already knowing what's happening. It just picks up right where the previous one left off. And really, it doesn't do any less than what the previous movie did. That being said, this is a different director, because Guillermo del Toro was off directing an Academy Award-winning film at the time, so he wasn't available to do the sequel to this masterpiece that he had already created. You can kind of tell that it is a different director. Not because of the time-lapse, not minor spoiler, it's a 10-year time gap between the end of Pacific Rim 1 and when Pacific Rim Uprising kicks off. It's a 10-year gap. I don't know if Makomori looked 10 years older, but whatever. But anyways, you can tell it's a different director. And I won't go into all of the details here, you can look them up yourself, but there's the detail of the kaiju worshippers, which are mentioned in Pacific Rim 1, but Guillermo del Toro didn't have time to... You know, it would have taken away from the movie that was being presented, Giant Monsters vs. Giant Robots. Bam, done. That was the movie being told. and throwing the kaiju worshippers in there, who are humans who have decided that the kaiju are gods, who think that humanity is unworthy of unworthy of ruling Earth, so they've come to destroy us. So they're kind of chaos worshippers, as the case may be. My feet really hurt. So Del Toro didn't have time for that in the first movie. They're mentioned, they're briefly seen, but nothing goes beyond that. There's actually a lot of unanswered questions that come from the first movie. Let's be honest. There's subtleties to the world. There's subtle details. They're not even said in dialogue, but they are shown. And I'll give you one example. When a brief example, when the Beckett brothers are putting on their armor in Alaska, the first time we see Gypsy Danger, they're getting their armor put on, and the circuitry of the inner skin suit that they're wearing has a detail to it that you never see afterwards. It's literally blink and you miss it, but there actually is organization and a real world application to the circuitry that's happening on there. They don't say it in dialogue. They don't. Like I said, it's blink and you miss it. You actually have to look at the off-camera commentary to know what that circuitry actually means. But those are just two of the many nuances that happened in Pacific Rim under Del Toro's guidance, under his direction. You can tell, even though Del Toro gets, I think he was an executive producer, something like that. I know he was involved in Uprising, which was previously titled Maelstrom, by the way. I can't say that Maelstrom would have been a good title for that movie. I think Uprising fits. It's kind of basic, generic, one-size-fits-all title, but it worked. Del Toro was still involved with Pacific Rim Uprising, but you can definitely tell that this is a different director. By the way, it was I can't think of the guy's name. Captions will say it for me. But the guy who directed Uprising, this is his feature film debut. He'd never done a movie before. This is his directorial debut. So good for him. You know, he did essentially, but not in a bad way, copy paste what Del Toro had done 4 years earlier, 3 years earlier. He did a successful copy paste, and then, you know, he imported in what had previously happened, and he worked with it, and he made it work. He made it successful. So, yeah, he succeeds in that regard. But again, you can tell there's some flavor, some nuance to Uprising that is missing in this sequel, that is very much present, as subtle as it may be. And again, a good portion of it is behind-the-scenes stuff that is not canon. Well, technically, I guess it would be considered canon. They just don't say it on camera. There's nuances in the first film. There's subtlety. There's texture. There's flavor in the first film that is kind of sort of lacking in the second movie. There's also some laws of physics and stuff that happened in the second movie that I don't entirely agree with. So... But yeah, absolutely, Pacific Rim Uprising, absolutely. I will mention one thing though. The theater that I was in Everett, Washington, I have naturally overly sensitive hearing, which means babies crying, fire engines roaring past, squealing, and any kind of high-pitched noises. They can be irritating for me compared to most other people. That doesn't mean I have super hearing. It just means I'm more sensitive. I'm more prone to like, so like I can hear the UPS truck farther away than most people can, because my hearing can go out a little farther because I'm more sensitive. Anyways, in Pacific Rim Uprising, and I've never had this problem before. I think there were about 3 times in the climactic final battle that I had to. Oh Jesus, that was loud. And you know, by the time your fingers get to your ears, the damage is already done. So there was some really loud stuff happening there. I did go to the front desk, or customer assistance, And I did let them know, hey, can you, I mean, I can hear them just fine in the quiet parts, but in the loud parts, when it gets loud, oh my God, I was mid-theater, and that was way too loud for me. You guys could, like, can you drop it a few decibels or something, please? Because, like, that was ridiculous. Yes, I was capable of hearing characters when they're whispering, or talking quietly, or they're really close to each other in intimate conversations, like, I can hear that just fine. I can hear that just fine. But bring the volume down a little. Just please. So, but it was great to hear the kaijus roaring. It's such a rare occasion for me to be in the theater, as it is. I get to a movie theater maybe once per year, maybe. And so, yeah, I was pleased to see and hear Pacific Rim Uprising. Quick note: I had a choice between Pacific Rim Uprising and Ready Player One. I wanted to see both, and I'm like, kaijus on the big screen versus virtual reality internet on the big screen. Kaiju win. So I'm hoping I can see Ready Player One. Yeah, what the hell? I'm hoping I can see Ready Player One before it leaves the theaters. I want to see it on the theater. I want to see all the stuff that happens. I know next to nothing about Ready Player One, other than that it's a rip-off of One Piece. So just because I have bigger fish to fry and I've already wasted like half an hour with this whole introduction thing, whatever it is, I'm going to kind of breeze through this because I've got other things that need to be addressed. So before I saw Pacific Rim Uprising, I hadn't even decided if I was going to get it or if I was going to watch it or not. Like, it's like Ready Player One, Pacific Rim, Ready Player One, Pacific Rim, hadn't decided yet. Went to Fred Meyer's. And let's see, Titans Returns Autobot Cosmos. They really need to make a Voyager out of this guy, or they need to get him into the Bayformers movies if they can. Oh, I forgot, we're doing Bumblebee the movie next, because the world absolutely needs more Bumblebee, doesn't it? So anyways, I got Legends Class Cosmos, who definitely needs a Voyager class version. He needs an upgrade. Considering he's a UFO, he can't be a little guy all the time. He was a little guy in G1, and this is pretty much all we've gotten since. So, Hasbro, Takara, can we do something about this? Bigger flying saucer, bigger UFO in general. It doesn't have to be a flying saucer necessarily, although I'm sure the G1ers would bitch and moan if you did. Can we have a bigger version? And then have like a mini, a Titan Master. This is under Titans Returns, I'd like to point out. And then have a Minicon or a Titan Master or something go inside. That'd be nice. By the way, for this particular release, for the Titans Returns release of Cosmos, it does not come with the, well, they were still called Minicons at that point. The little space shuttle Minicon that he had, it doesn't come with that. It's just Cosmos. So, got this, yay. Haven't opened it yet, so I'll let you know how it goes in the next one. Maybe. And then at the exact same time, I picked up Titans Returns Sea Spray. Now, I've already got Universe. No, it wasn't Universe. It was... Maybe it was Universe. Which version was that? I think it was Hunt for the Decepticon Sea Spray. So I got that and reviewed it for CDX. And so I felt it appropriate to get this one. So, yay. Once I got both... Did I get these at Target or Fred Meyer? Yeah, Fred Meyer. Oh, I guess that would have meant I got these after I saw Pacific Rim Uprising. Okay. Yeah, because... Yeah, so I got these after I saw the movie. So, yay. I've got that huge quarterback guy. He's actually sitting inside of a drawer right now, along with most of my other Transformers, I'd like to point out. Shelf space is definitely an issue. I'm actually getting anxiety over the fact, like, I want to buy stuff, but I have run out of shelf space. I'm at capacity right now, so... So anyways, yeah, Cosmos and Sea Spray, and I'm looking forward to both of them. Cosmos is kind of covered in... he's kind of like Armada Unicron, and he's covered in half spheres and such, so I'm a little worried about that. And also, I don't collect Legends class figures very often, so if at all. So, like, these are the first, like, I suppose Sea Spray is considered a scout. I guess they're both considered scouts. So whatever. Like I have gotten scout class figures numerous times, but I just don't deal with the smaller ones usually. Legends class, I just kind of nah, whatever. Too small. I'm a scale person, so like, if it's a hovercraft, why would it be this small compared to a Mack truck that's like this big? This big. But I like the characters enough, or at least I like the appearance of the characters enough, that it was worth it for me to get these. Moving on.